China controls almost all of the global supply of rare earth metals, and basically we have zero. Really a remarkable figure, but something like 70% of all goods sold in the US come from China. You can't substitute that.
Previously on Stay in Your Lane.
It is remarkable when there's a specific industry that the administration targets and again arm twists and say, I want you back here, and if you don't, we're going to put a tariff of 200% on or whatever, and some industries are saying, okay, well, in that case, maybe we're thinking about opening a new plant anyway. Maybe we will put it in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
So that is definitely happening, but on the large scale, it's hard to see it yet.
I think we've seen that the pharmaceutical industry is where we would like to see that a lot of those medications and drugs that are needed are made here, so that during any type of disaster or anything crazy, we actually have access to it.
Right. We found out during COVID we're a little exposed there to China, that a lot of raw materials for pharmaceuticals came from China, and that we didn't really have much production of those materials. So, that's an important shift, I think, there, to not be so dependent. And another one that's going to be interesting that China really holds a very strong hand on is the rare earth metals.
Yes.
We need, every industrial company needs rare earth metals for all kinds of different high-tech devices, for communications and for lasers and high-tech magnets and so forth. China controls almost all of the global supply of rare earth metals, and basically we have zero. There is a mine, a processor out in Nevada that's mining lithium. There's some other that are coming online, but that takes a long time. It's where there's a need, a market will form. And I think the Chinese hold a pretty strong hand in the negotiations, saying, okay, you want these tariffs on, maybe we'll restrict this supply of rare earth metals. It's a pretty strong hand. And to develop sources here takes a while. And of course, you could find sources elsewhere, but it's by far held by China.
Wow, that's wonderful information. Not necessarily good news, but wonderful information. When do you think we'll really start to see some change after the interest rates? Are you going to say 3 to 5 quarters? Or do you think is it going to be sticky? Like, certain things are sticky, like gas prices are sticky, or fuel, oil, petroleum-based products are sometimes very sticky on the coming down. Do you see that maybe the industry, the housing market, everything that causes commerce, which would affect our industry, an increase in commerce, do you think it's going to be this year we're going to see anything positive, or do you think it'll be next year?
There's definitely a lag. I mean, I've looked at that very carefully. Changes in the Fed funds interest rate. Other rates don't come along as fast, and they don't fall as fast. Very clearly, mortgage rates in particular, auto loans, personal loans, commercial and industrial loans, they respond pretty slowly. Sticky is the exact correct word for this. Mm-hmm. And credit card interest rates, we don't have as much experience with that, but I can guarantee you with an average of something like 21% for credit card interest rates, Banks are certainly enjoying that revenue. That is going to creep down a little bit over time. It's going to be sticky. You're right. Now you mentioned oil and gas and energy. That's why we look at the core rates of inflation. They strip out energy and food. Why? So, for instance, somebody says something wrong in the Middle East, or you have a little war breakout, or pipeline bursts, or something like that. Those are things that are out of control that interest rates can't affect.
Right.
So that's why, even though people have to live with energy prices, particularly gasoline, we understand that that's a huge part of the monthly budget. If you're looking at underlying inflation, Federal Reserve and interest rate moves can't control, generally speaking, what happens in with energy prices. There's all those things I just mentioned, and there's trader sentiment and the value of the dollar and all these things that are less under control of the Federal Reserve. Same thing with food prices, for instance. Oh, the prices of eggs, they're up, whatever it was, 100% or 50%. Well, that's because the avian flu, guess what? The Federal Reserve can raise or lower interest rates. It's not going to affect the avian flu, or when there's a freeze in the Florida orange groves, and that drives up prices because it kills so much of that crop. Well,
Interest rates aren't going to affect that.
no, no. So that's why we tend to look to a certain extent at the core rate, which takes those two out. Sounds like the most important things, and for an average consumer, and that's true. But if you're trying to make policy, as the Federal Reserve does, if you're trying to make policy, you can't look at those.
Right. You strip all that out.
Yeah.
Look at what it's like worrying about things you can't control anyway. It's impossible. You can only worry about what you can control yourself.
Yep, indeed.
Same policy with that. So, Dan, I want to let you know that we love having you on. You're amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you for everything. You want to leave us with your thoughts on the holiday season?
Well, for me, it's a little bit early, even though for the retailers, they started ordering some time ago for the holiday season. And that picture is really murky because, for instance, there was front running on tariffs from goods from China. It's really a remarkable figure, but something like 70% of all goods sold in the U.S. come from China. So that doesn't get that there. You can't substitute that really quickly. It's 50 to 70%. Maybe it's 70% in Walmart, more than that on Amazon. So you had that front running, and maybe that'll hold prices down. But you're selling goods that you bought in August. Maybe you still will have that benefit. But if you're buying late, yeah, then you could have higher prices than what you'd like to buy. So, and then it comes back to the consumer. While the consumer's been saying for a long time, I hate the economy. I really hate it. My confidence is terrible. Inflation's super high, but they keep spending. Now that's trailed off a bit, but they are keeping spending. So that's a kind of a long-winded answer. I do think that given the patterns of what we've seen so far this year, my guess is we're going to have a reasonably good holiday sales. It's a ways off. Where are we now? We're in September. I guess it's not that far off, but we know that a lot can happen overnight, given this administration.
Sure.
But
sure.
I do have a question for Joe. I'm curious about the picture of the horse in your background.
Oh, that's authentic. We won the Kentucky Derby and the Breeders' Cup in 2020. I dabble a little bit in. I own some micro shares in a number of horses, so that's what you see behind me is a lot of the winners of my horses. So that's what I've done in my semi-retirement.
I see. Yeah, I've got pictures of when I'm winning too. The ones where things are going bad. I don't look at those.
Yeah.
You got to focus on the positives, right? Glasses
Yeah.
half full.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Well, Dan, as we get closer to Christmas, we'd love to have you back on, talk about finishing up the year, what the new year has in store for all of us from a surprise perspective and a reality perspective. As always, thanks for being on, and until next time, stay in your lane.
Okay, thanks very much, Don, and thank you, Joe, as well. Appreciate it.